Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to this Coaches Spotlight webinar. My name is Ellen. I'm an account manager here at Phantom Buster. Today I'm joined by Fabien, who is one of our certified coaches, who I'll be introducing in more detail in just a few minutes. But while we wait a few minutes, we want everyone to get settled in. If you want to say hello in the chat. We have a few team members joining us today. Hey Petra, hey Valentina, hey Morgan, hi Anna. Hi, Daria. Wow, we've got lots of people still signing on. So we'll give you all just a few minutes to sign on and get comfortable. If you also want to tell us where you are signing in from, it's always fun to see how many time zones we're representing today. I'm coming live from Paris, France. Fabien is coming from the Czech Republic. So already we've got a couple of countries represented. Okay, Germany, the UK, Mexico. Very cool. Lots of people. Love to see it. Thanks everyone for taking the time today. As I mentioned, we have team members joining us in the chat. You know that they're part of the team because they have the team icon next to their name. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, they know exactly what they're talking about. They'll be able to help you out. So as you can see in the chat where everyone is currently saying where they're coming in from, Pakistan, Scotland, cool. Also Paris, lovely to see you. So next to the chat button, you should see the questions button. So there, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please don't hesitate to ask your questions there in the questions tab, not the chat tab. We ask this just because in the questions tab, it's a lot easier for our team to respond directly to you. When you put it in the chat, sometimes the chat is so active that question gets lost. So just make sure you're putting your questions in the questions tab and one of the team members will be happy to help you out. A question that we often get many times, yes, this is being recorded and yes, you will all be receiving the replay as soon as it's over. So if you need to leave early, we're not offended. Feel free to pop out, pop in as needed. You will all be receiving the replay as soon as the event ends. We'll just give it another couple of seconds. Hi from Lisbon. Thanks for joining us, Maria. Awesome. Well, it's been 3 minutes. So why don't we go ahead and Fabien, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen, we'll get started.
Okay.
Thank you.
Huge screen window. Hoppa. You should be able to see my screen, and I need to go back to the beginning. Yep.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this Coaches Spotlight webinar series. Today, I am here with Fabien, and we will be talking about how to automate your LinkedIn lead generation. So if you could go to the next slide, please. I'm just going to do a quick intro for all of you who are beginners here or maybe not quite so sure yet what Phantom Buster can bring you, whether or not you are starting with your 14-day free trial or if you are already a paid subscriber. But essentially, Phantom Buster is a lead generation service, a software as a service tool, where with that 14-day free trial or with any of your paid subscriptions, you have access to over 130 different phantoms and flows that you can use to automate the most tedious of your tasks. So a phantom and a flow, essentially the difference there is phantoms are bots that are able to automate a single kind of action for you on the web. That action might be something like scraping the followers of an Instagram account, or it might be the automation of sending connection requests on LinkedIn. Whereas a flow is essentially multiple phantoms combined into a single spot, a single bot. So all you have to do with a flow is you set it up one time, you enable it, and then all of the phantoms within that flow that make up that flow will work behind the scenes to carry out an entire sequence of automated actions for you. So that being said, as I mentioned, we have over 130 different phantoms and flows available here in the Phantom catalog. So we have lots of different use cases that are available to you. So some of our most popular ones, obviously lead generation, which we'll be getting into in just a second in more detail with Fabien, but other ones include lead outreach, email discovery, CRM enrichment, and truly the options are endless. So next slide, please. As the options are endless, and we recognize that maybe at first glance the catalog is a little intimidating, we do have lots of resources available to you all to make sure that you understand what you can do with the tool and make sure that you're making the most out of it. Obviously, we have that included in your subscription, included in that 14-day free trial with our support team. So our support team is always available to help you with any kind of questions that you may have. But we've also recently created a Phantom Buster coach program. So I'm joined here with Fabien today, and also these are our 3 other coaches. You may have joined us for our previous Coaches Spotlight webinars, where we've been highlighting our different coaches, their expertise, and how you can actually hire them for either one-off or recurring sessions to help you get started, help you get set up, have tailored expertise, use case consulting, that sort of thing. So with that, I want to get into our coach joining me today, Fabien. So Fabien is joining us today. He is an expert in custom development, database management, lead generation, and social media, as well as web scraping. So lots to explore here with Fabien. He also runs a growth hacking agency in SaaS called Tetris. And now with that being said, I wanted to get you all started, I wanted to have a little poll to know whether or not you are all currently automating your lead generation. So you should all see the poll now on the screen. If you wouldn't mind voting in that poll, let's just see where everyone stands. All right, votes are coming in. So yes, looks like a lot of you have started automating some of your lead generation processes, which is great, but you would like to automate more, which is even better, which is why you're all here. And so with that, take it away, Fabien, if you want to lead us into a little bit more in depth how we can be automating our lead generation.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. And back in this webinar, we'll be focusing on how to automate like LinkedIn outreach process. And this is the overall process you would typically be using. You start by sending contact requests to people, monitor if they accept the contact request. If they do access, you monitor if they actually reply to, like, send you a message or so on. If they reply, usually you want to have like manual follow-up. If they don't reply, usually send one automated like email follow-up to this person, monitor if they reply again, and basically manage a follow-up. So all this process can be fully automated with Phantom Buster, but there we'll focus this webinar on the 2 critical success factors if you want to be having any result with this process, which are targeting and messaging. Like if you don't do your homework on how to do proper targeting, how to do a proper messaging on this outreach, you will not be getting any result from this automated outreach. Especially nowadays that LinkedIn is limiting you to be sending only 100 contact requests per week. So you cannot be playing on scale to be compensating for bad targeting or bad messaging. You have really to be spending time on thinking what is a good messaging, what's a good targeting. So let's start with targeting. First option you have is just to be using Search Explorer. So just one important point. I will be sharing this slide at the end of the webinar. And on each of the slides, when I'm mentioning a specific phantom, you have a link to this phantom. So you can, after, just use this slide as a reference deck for like all those automation I was discussing. And you won't be getting lost in the 100 automation which are on Phantom Buster. You can just use this presentation as a cheat sheet for what is relevant. Yep. So first thing you can be using in terms of targeting is basic LinkedIn search. It has a limitation of 100 like per result. What does it mean concretely? If I open this search, so it is the people which are CEO and which have SaaS in their title. According to LinkedIn, you have like 126,000 people who are matching this search. However, you won't be able to get those 126,000 people right away. If you go to the last page of result, which is 100 page, you have no option to go further. You have 10 results per page. So the maximum result you can get from a specific search is always 1,000. If you want to get more out of this 1,000, the workaround is to be adding geographic filter. You can be using this spreadsheet to do this. So what it will be doing is if you input any search URL here, it will generate sub-search for different US states. So I think this one is for Wyoming. It is the same search, people which have SAS in keyword, which are CEO job title, but you are limited in geography to only people which are in Wyoming. So you are below the 1,000 results. And you have next is another state. I think it's supposed to be Michigan, this one. And again, you would be below 1,000. So by combining all the searches together, you are able to go over 1,000 limits. Phantom Buster is able to use straight away a Google spreadsheet as input. You just need to make sure that the Google spreadsheet is accessible to anybody with the link in the share option here. Basically, make sure that it's accessible on the internet so Phantom Buster can access it. I will be sharing a few of the spreadsheets which are for now only for US. If there's potentially interest for covering other region in terms of geography split, you can just be asking in the chat, and I can be doing some updates of those templates later on. Also, I recommend you to always use GeoFilter, not necessary for increasing number of results, but also to have a uniform targeting. In my experience, timing of your LinkedIn outreach has small impact on the conversion rates. Typically, you will have better conversion rate on your contact request if you're sending requests during the workday, and if you're sending it either around lunchtime, so 12 to 1 p.m., or in evening from 5 to 6. And you need to think about this from your prospect perspective. So if you're targeting people in another time zone, you need to think about what is their time zone. And in order to do this, you want to have a GeoFilter on your targeting, so you have a uniform time zone in the list of people you are targeting. If you want to go a bit further, like have better targeting, you can go for the Search Navigator Search Export. Search Navigator is paid service by LinkedIn, which costs $99 a month. It gives you access to a lot of filters which are interesting. So you can be filtering based on industry, company size. You can filter based on tenure in the job. So filter only people which are in the current job for more than 1 year. So they are a bunch of decision maker for what you have to be offering. It also have a higher limits per search, like you are 2,500 instead of 1,000. But it is a relatively expensive option because it's $99 a month. There is some way to go around this cost. First one is you typically have 1 month free trial for Search Navigator. If you haven't used it yet, you can just subscribe for Search Navigator for 1 month and have it for free for some time. Also, the Phantom, which do the Search Navigator search export, will give you in the result the standard LinkedIn URL of each profile. So the result of this Phantom can be used by somebody which do not have a Search Navigator. So you can have a setup where you have one person in your team with Search Navigator subscription, who is in charge of generating those lead files for other people, and then you just like assign those leads to different people who do not have Search Navigator. Or you can use a 1 month free trial to just be building a huge database. You can safely use this Phantom to extract like 2,500 leads per day. So in 1 month of free trial, you can have 60,000 quite easily. You have here links to one template, which allow you to do the split per region. So there is a free version of it, which is only for US, and paid version, which is for almost every geography like Europe and so on. At the end of this webinar, we'll be giving you like a discount code of 50% on the premium version. So stay tuned until the end if you want to have access to it. One other way you can have very nice targeting without paying for Search Navigator is to use group membership. LinkedIn group is typically a nice way to have people interested in a specific industry vertical. And it is also limited to 2,500. So you can have quite a big database. In my experience, it's better to always be working on groups which are relatively narrow, but have quite strong focus. Because what you're interested in is to have like a niche audience, which is highly relevant. As an example, I was working with one company, which is selling some system for like RFID tracking of asset management, basically. They started doing outreach on a group, which is like really focused on this topic, had very nice conversion rate, a lot of leads from the group. They then wanted to scale it to other groups, which are like bigger scale, but less relevant. And the conversion rate completely dropped. So they actually stopped going after some of this group because it just didn't generate the return that the resources it didn't generate ROI for the resources in sales which are required for doing this type of outreach. So always, if you're going for group, rather focus on like narrow niche group and spend time by researching for your target audience which group are relevant. Now we'll be moving to the second pool, which is actually a question from my side, if any of you ever left a LinkedIn group. I'm actually interested to see what will be the result of this poll.
It looks like most people have never left a LinkedIn group.
Yeah, so that is what is expected. That's typically this type of targeting via group. It is nice, but it has one big weakness, that you are targeting people which are supposed to be interested in a topic, but maybe they were interested in it like a very long time ago. They kind of joined a group like 1-2 years ago, and they forgot to left when they changed career or whatsoever. So you can have few like irrelevant leads in the targeting. The way to work around this and to be sure that you have people which are interested in a topic and are still interested now is instead to go after event attendees. So when you have an event on LinkedIn, you have a phantom to extract people who attend this event. And this gives you a very nice audience that you know those people are interested in a specific topic and they're interested about this topic right now. So it is a bit better targeting than group. There is a way to get a bit more than 1,000 because this actually redirects you to a search. So you can always work around GeoFilter to get more results. And you have here a link to one of the templates, which is doing something similar. So you just put in here the URL of the event you're interested in, and it will generate you a list of like search for, again, like each US state and the list of people who attended this specific event. Just if you're using this template, keep in mind that you won't be using the phantom for like attendee export. You'll be using the phantom for LinkedIn search, which is mentioned like in the how-to of the template. And that's how you can have like a lot of people from big event. Usually if they're like worth of attendees, can be quite relevant because you have the time limitation on the audience. So it's usually quite highly targeted audience you can be getting from it. And the last way you can get a hyper-targeted audience is to combine those two phantoms. So this is especially interesting if you want to try stealing basically follower of your competitor or something like that. The way it works, you use this LinkedIn, this phantom to extract the last post of a person. So you can put in there the profile of your competitor, CMO or CEO, get a list of the last posts they had on LinkedIn, and then you use the outputs in this phantom, which will give you the list of people who actually like and interacted with those posts. So you have a list of people who interact with the posts of your competitor, and which should be highly relevant for you. Just when you're doing this approach, don't forget to filter out people which are actually working for the competitor for which you're running it. It's quite common that when like a CMO or CEO is posting something on LinkedIn, they will ask everybody in the company to be liking it or sharing it, so it boosts a bit the engagement. So you have to do this filtration, make sure you're not going after the employee of the company you're basically trying to eject the follower of. Last things when it comes to targeting, it's whatever of the solution I discussed so far you use, you can even narrow down your targeting further by using this phantom. So this phantom will go on every LinkedIn profile and get all the information visible on this LinkedIn profile. This might be like the skills, the work history, even recommendation and so on. And this is interesting for you because it has a much higher scale limitation than the contact request. There is a hard limit on LinkedIn. I can be sending only 100 contact requests a week, which correspond to 20 contact requests per workday, like if you scrape Sunday, Saturday. The profile scrapper allows you to be scrapping between 100 and 150 profile a day, depending on how active your LinkedIn profile is, which is at least 5 times what you can be doing in terms of contact requests. So you can be using this phantom ahead of the contact request to narrow down your targeting and use your 100 contact requests really on people which matter and which will have a good conversion. If you're interested in like potential use case for this, I link here one from Medium blog post where I provide a template for splitting profile based on which language they're based in. This is especially relevant if you're targeting a market like Switzerland or Belgium, where you have like several languages in the same country. You want to first scrap profile of people, identify in which language they're using, and split your outreach in basically each language to improve your conversion rate. And this type of filtration based on profile scrapping is now super easy to do with the new lead feature of Phantom Buster. So let me shift back to Phantom Buster. So this is an account which is actually running a lot of profile scrapping. So it will take a while to load all the leads because I think there is more than now 70,000 profiles there. But basically, every time you'll be using Phantom, which is working with LinkedIn, your leads will, like, all the information about the contact you find are stored in this lead. I can always access on top by clicking LinkedIn leads. And you will have like a lot of information in there. If you are running a Phantom, which is like adding information, so if you're running a profile scrapper, it will be updating information which are missing. And you have then the possibility to easily filter out the database you have. So for example, you can filter based on job title that you want only people which have CEO as job title. And you can combine like any filter you want. For example, you can even look at how many followers the person has on LinkedIn. So if you want to have people which are only quite influential on LinkedIn, you can look at only people which are more than 4,000. And you can be saving this list for later use. So let me just name it webinar this too. And you can access on the side like all your lists at any time. Those lists are dynamic. So whenever there is a new automation for Discover lead, which is matching those criteria, it will be adding to the list. And you can be using those leads as input for Phantom. So if you go on top here, you have the option to engage with a specific list. It will give you the list of all possible Phantom you can be using for interaction. The one which corresponds to the workflow I was presenting at start is the LinkedIn outreach flow. So this is something which will do the whole process, sending contact requests, send follow-up if there are no responses, and so on. Or you can just be using the LinkedIn Auto Connect, which will just be sending the contact requests. Those are basically the two top Phantom you want to be using for engaging on LinkedIn. And if you are doing this from a list, like it's completely dynamic, every time you have new leads matching your list, you will be like adding it to the input of this Phantom for lead generation. So I think that's all regarding targeting. And I think we have the next pool, which is on Helen's side.
Yes, so I just wanted to ask everyone which Phantoms they've already tried, all of the Phantoms that Fabien has just showed us. So I think, yes, it looks like most of you have already been exploring the search export, either the LinkedIn or Sales Navigator ones. That is definitely one of the most popular, but just goes to show that lots of other options that you could be using for more creative ways for that lead gen. Yeah, more votes still coming in. Search export is still the most popular. Okay, cool. Well, I hope this is inspiring for everyone to attempt some of these other Phantoms. I also just wanted to take a second and address some of the questions that we have in the chat. It looks like my team is handling most of these specific ones, so shout out again to the team. But just wanted to remind everyone that this is being recorded and you will be receiving the replay as soon as the event is over, as well as all of these slides. So Fabien has, as he mentioned, all of the slides have active links, not only to the Phantoms that he is showing, but also the different guides that he's talking about and different guides that he's written. They're all linked in the slides. So stick around or check out the recording afterwards and you will have access to all of that at the end. But with that, I think everything else is pretty clear. So you're good to continue, Fabien.
Okay, so we can move in on the topic of messaging. So you basically need two messages when it comes to this outreach process. First one is what you're sending as a contact request specifically. This is limited to 300 characters by LinkedIn. You cannot go over it. And you have what will be your follow-up message. So if nobody reply anything, this in theory is limited, I think, to 3,000 characters. However, I advise you to keep it below 600-700, because if you go above this, like, it will be really long for LinkedIn, and it doesn't display that well, especially on the LinkedIn mobile app. So typically, if you try to send an email on LinkedIn, your conversion rate will go down because people will just stop reading. They will read like maybe the last 2 lines, and that's all. So you want also to be limiting this to max 700, have something which is relatively short. In terms of advice about copy, first thing is you want to align your copy with the targeting you are using. So for example, I was mentioning you can be targeting people attending a specific event. There is an event on LinkedIn for actually this webinar, so you can be extracting people which attended it and which are then interested in PhantomBuster. And you can mention in your outreach that you see this person attended PhantomBuster webinar and ask follow-up question like how they're using PhantomBuster for and so on. These help you to have a type of outreach which doesn't come out of the blue, that you give a justification why you're contacting this specific person. And it is quite easy to make personalization at scale using this approach. If you have like a lot of small niche in targeting based on different events, you can make like one messaging for all of them, which will be quite targeted for the specific use case and give you a nice conversion rate. Second thing, which is important to use, is to play with the placeholder, which is what you have here at the bottom of the interface on PhantomBuster. We are creating a message. It's a dynamic tag which will basically replace the text by like whatever is here. So here, example, you have the first name. The Phantom always offer you the information about first name, because something which is grabbed directly from the profile when the Phantom is running. But you can also use as a dynamic tag the like header of any of the column in the spreadsheet you are using as input. So I have here a link to one blog post where I give an example quite specific to actually Czech Republic. I'm not sure, I didn't see somebody from Czech Republic in the chat at the start, but Czech language has something very specific, which is that you are personalizing the name of people when you're outreaching. So you cannot say, hi, Fabian, it should be like, hi, Fabiane. And this is typically a way you can spot off if there's an automation, but you can easily, with some basically spreadsheet logic, generate this type of personalization dynamically, and then push back the information to PhantomBuster and customize your message accordingly. So what is possible in terms of personalization here is like huge. If you have like some really edge use case, that's actually the kind of thing we can definitely discuss on the mentoring session, because it's typically is a really fun use case for me to be looking at. Third tip I would give you is try to ask question, usually more in your follow-up rather than in the contact request. Like usually contact request you want it to be as bare bone as possible, because you want to be accepted. It's even sometimes give you better conversion rate to actually have empty messages. So always try to A/B test actually in contact request. Have a message, have no messages for like 1-2 weeks, see which one perform better in acceptance rate. But in follow-up, so sending an email to people who didn't start a conversation with you, question is nice because it is a conversation starter. And it also can help you qualify the leads and see how relevant is it for you to be following up with this person. For example, I'm working mainly in like lead generation and mainly with outbound. So when I'm running outreach, I'm often using this messaging where I'm asking people, well, if they're working with lead generation and if they're rather working with inbound or outbound, so I know how priority target it is for me to be following this person, or like if it is like a dead lead for me right now. Next tip is to play on the ego of the person. So this is the message I was using when I was working on SaaS called QAPOC, which is a data mining tool for Quora. And I was starting the message by, I saw you were an influencer on Quora. And this is a sentence which works very well because you are playing on the ego of the person. So they feel valued and they will usually tend to respond to you positively. This is something which is quite easy to do nowadays with the lead feature. As I was showing in the example here, you have a filter based on number of followers. If you're targeting anybody which are more than 4,000 followers on LinkedIn, like that should be somebody which is quite influential on the topic like he's speaking of. So you can easily start by saying, hey, I see you're an influencer on X topic. And while the last thing is you don't want to be too self-pushy when it's come to LinkedIn outreach and LinkedIn follow-up. What you have to keep in mind is this LinkedIn lead generation is not an intent-based targeting. So you're not running PPC ads on Google where people are looking for a solution right now and you can advertise them the solution. You are targeting people because they have an interest in a topic. They were attending some specific event, which is related to what you want to be selling. They are part of a group which is on the same topic than you. So they might be interested, but the key is that they might not be interested right now. So you will have to do some lead nurturing and take your time to potentially convert those leads and bring them to actually be interested in what you are doing. Sending a follow-up message is one way that you can be starting a conversation, ask questions, and so on. But you have a few other ways which are a bit less invasive to do your lead nurturing on LinkedIn. One key one is to play with content. So you have here link to blog posts where I present like one automation tool I'm using, which basically recycle any of your blog posts to generate some evergreen campaign on LinkedIn. So every week it will be posting snippets of this blog post. And it allows you to have, with very little work, to be posting on LinkedIn on a regular basis and like appear in the feed of people you are connected with. Another way to follow up with leads, which work quite well, is to use LinkedIn Event Inviter, which is another phantom, which allow you to invite people from a specific event automatically. So if you are doing anything like webinar, always create an event on LinkedIn, export part of your connection, and use this phantom to invite people. It's a really great way to be staying top on mind of the potential lead you have in your network. And the last recommendation is don't try to automate everything. I know it's a bit like ironic to be saying this like on the webinar Shopify Ambassador, which is all about automation, but when you start automating things, you will always have slightly lower results than when you're doing something manually. So you have to think, what is the value of the lead you will be outreaching and how much you want to be automating based on this. If you do like a really amazing work on the targeting and you know the people you are targeting are really like tier 1 leads that they can generate you thousands of revenue a month, you might even want to do the contact request manually to be personalizing it, shows that it is manual. You don't want to be sending a manual follow-up. You might want to send like a voice messages because like this shows that it wasn't automated. And that's how you can basically convert like high quality leads. If you have medium quality leads, you typically want to be automating the contact requests just because there isn't that much personalization there. But you want to keep all the follow-up process done manually. If you are working in an industry where you have any like low value per leads, you can consider to be automating everything. You will have a lower conversion rate, but like it will just be saved by the scale basically. So I think that last comment I have, and you have the last pool to be closing here, which if I remember is like if you are interested in the coaching session, right?
Yes, so the last poll that we all wanted to ask now that we've had this presentation of how to automate your lead generation is whether or not you would be interested in a coaching session. So it looks like a lot of you are either not sure or potentially yes, which we love to hear. Obviously, we have 4 coaches to choose from, but I'll let you finish, Fabien. I know you have one more slide.
Yeah, so I have one more slide, which is like a giveaway. So you have back here like 2 discount codes. You have 1 discount code, which is for coaching session with me, and you back have the link straight away to be booking it. And this discount code also works for the spreadsheet I was mentioning to split Sales Navigator search. And you also have a discount code for like 2 tools I'm using in combination: PhantomBuster for email outreach. So it's something like in complement of and you have here actually a link to a blog post I had on PhantomBuster blog, which explain you like actually how you combine outreach with email outreach, why it makes sense, and how to use those 2 tools. So you can easily have a look to it. And I will be sharing the slide in the chat so everybody has access to the slide.
Great. Well, thank you, Fabien. So that concludes the presentation portion of this webinar. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We do have a couple of resources that I wanted to share with you all before we actually end the event. So Fabien, if you want, you can stop sharing your screen just because it's looking a little vortexy.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Okay.
Yeah,
no.
I just move it away off my screen, so it's now really hard to catch.
Fair, fair. We've all been there.
Yes.
So Fabien just shared those slides. So lots of resources are in the slides already. A few other things that I wanted to just highlight for you all before we let you go on with your lives. First of all, obviously our coaches page, which I just shared there in the chat. So that's where you can check out all of the coaches that we have. Obviously, each coach has their own expertise. So as you can see, we now know Fabien is definitely an expert. But if you're looking for any kind of other area, we do have other coaches for you to choose from. Something else that I wanted to highlight for you all is our events page to keep an eye on for upcoming events. So again, I just posted that in the chat. We also are building out our YouTube channel. So if you want to follow us on YouTube and check out some of the videos there, we'll be adding this recording to YouTube. We have previous webinars already uploaded onto our YouTube channel, as well as many other very helpful tutorial videos, some of them short and sweet. So you can really, if you have any questions or if you like this kind of format of like video learning, definitely check out that YouTube channel because we have a lot of resources there. And then the final link that I wanted to share with you all is an invitation to join our community. So we have a Slack community that is available to our webinar attendees as well as all of our paid subscribers. And so this is where you can actually talk to us directly. So you can talk either to the team, you can post any kind of feedback or suggestions that you have, as well as you can talk to the other power users or other beginner users of PhantomBuster. And you can talk directly to our coaches there. So directly to Fabien in the PhantomBuster Slack community. So feel free to join the community there. And with that, I will leave you all. I think most of the questions have been answered or are currently being answered by the team. So thanks so much again to the team who has been handling the chat. One last shout out as well. If you have any additional questions, you can either reach us in the community or by emailing support@phantombuster.com. That's our support team. We'll be happy to help you out. Otherwise, stay tuned for upcoming webinars. Thank you, Fabien, so much for your time. Thanks for sharing those slides and all of the resources that you prepared for your expertise. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. So have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Bye.